Nadine Underbrink with Cash for College out of Houston, Texas, serving college admission needs for students from the East Coast to the West Coast and everywhere in between in our beautiful country. So what does it take to get into UT Austin? Well, we're going to get into it. So for those of you that are rising seniors or current seniors for the 2025-26 application cycle, there's a few important ingredients. So here goes. All right, first you have the option of doing an early application, meaning an early action application. It is not restrictive, it is not binding. Therefore, you submit that application by October 15th, supplemental materials by October 23rd, which means transcripts, rec letters, scores, and you get a response by January 15th, which is a nice feeling. If you apply regular decision, it is due by December 1st. Supplemental materials thereafter, and you will get a response in February. Now, what does it mean for students that are potentially non-traditional students, homeschool students, students that are actors, students that participate in very rigorous athletics and therefore cannot participate in a regular school? You all have the opportunity to make within your own world excellence, meaning you can take that ACT and score quite high. I know it needs to be a 33 or an SAT of a 1460 out of 1600, and that will produce a score that puts you in the top 5% in this nation, and you will be in a pretty good position moving forward. Now, what else does it take? A nice, thorough, well done resume, as well as essays, as well as an application. If you do the Common App, for example, which is one method that you could use to apply, you want to make sure that you have got a well-completed, thorough application that has been edited, and you make sure you're crossing all your T's and leaving nothing blank. Everything is well thought out. Now, what does that entail? It entails a primary essay, and that essay is considered part of the personal essay. You have 7 different topics to pick from. Please remember, despite what you're told even in school, your essay needs to be thought-provoking, insightful, true, and it needs to engage your reader. So don't be dry, don't be boring. Remember, you want to capture your reader. Then you have 2 more essays that are in the actual UT portion, and that essay is one focused on your major and then another one about an accomplishment. You'll see the details when you look at that application. Again, thought-provoking and insightful. Thereafter, they also offer you what they call an optional essay, which is a special circumstance essay. Only do that if there is truly special circumstances that are well within your understanding of why it impacted your GPA, and it's very unique circumstances. You don't want to use it just because, I wasn't paying attention freshman year and now I care about my schooling. I don't recommend that. We never want to highlight the negative in that fashion. However, if there are truly unusual circumstances, that's a different story. All right, now, beyond the essays, beyond having strong scores, you also want to have a really, really well put together expanded academic resume. It needs to be formatted well. It needs to be formatted properly. It also needs to highlight all of your skill sets in the awards and honors, in the extracurriculars, in the community service, work internships, professional observations, and shadowing. You want to make sure not only to identify what you have done and activities and skills that you've done a long time. It's good to show that too. I wouldn't start off showing something in kindergarten that ended in 7th grade, but if it's continued into high school, by all means, continuity is a good thing. But beyond just showing, for example, membership or an experience or that you've joined a group, you want to talk about what skill sets have you acquired, what expertise, what type of coding, for example, what type of skill set that you learn because of a community service event. That highlights how you have shaped yourself into the kind of person applying into your particular major. So you're connecting the dots for them, especially if you're a student that's not auto-admit. But we have had all of the other areas well thought out, well done, properly done, and early. Remember, the early bird gets that worm. But besides which, you make sure that you, as a holistic review applicant, meaning they're going to look at you big picture, that when an admission counselor looks at you, he or she sees how you're convincing them, that you're connecting the dots for them. And they're like, oh, I see why you're interested in X major, and so forth. All right. Now, in the end, you are either going to be admitted and you're going to be a Longhorn, or you are going to be deferred, which means if you're an early action applicant, you are going to be deferred into the regular application pool, which is okay. Don't stress and don't fret. It happens a lot, and you'll still have an opportunity to get in, or you can be offered an alternate system admission route. And if you're given that route, meaning you attend another UT campus that you select from and you participate, you need to make sure that you avoid the number one error that students make, which is they don't take their coursework seriously. They don't turn things in on time. They do not make good grades, and therefore they lack the GPA to be able to successfully transfer to UT Austin. Those 2 semesters move so quickly. You have no time to mess around. You got to make sure that you take advantage of that short runway and are successful in transferring into UT Austin. Please keep in mind that if you do the alternate route, it does not guarantee you majors across the board. At this point, it guarantees you a major within liberal arts, but they don't specify exactly which major they're going to give. They, again, higher the grades and everything that you're putting together in front of them, the better for you. But you just want to make sure that you put your best foot forward if you're doing an alternate route. All right, now, for students who get to the point where they're at the end and they don't like a decision, for example, that UT offered, can you appeal? Absolutely, you can appeal, but please be sure that that appeal is based on something that was overlooked or an error. Another alternative that you can consider, whether you got in but you want a different major or you just didn't get in at all, you could also consider going on the wait list. You still can possibly be admitted. The downside to the wait list is the timeline, right? You may very well be admitted well into the next semester. You could be attending another university altogether and then finally discover that you have been admitted into UT Austin. So in the end, you just got to remember this. What do you want? Do you want UT more than you want your major? And if so, does that serve you the best? Because remember, being true to yourself matters the most. I'm Nadine Underbrink at Cash for College.